The message arrived through a decommissioned inbox I hadn't used in years. No sender, no subject line, just a compressed file titled techlog119b.zip. Inside was a single text document with all metadata wiped. No author, no creation date. At first, I assumed it was corrupted or incomplete, but when I opened it, the text was intact. What I read felt like a mission log, at least at the beginning. It described a standard deep-sea inspection procedure. Objective: verify latency irregularity in a dark fiber line. Name of the asset: Black Ridge Cable, Segment 9. The report identified the operator as Elias Thorne. I didn't recognize the name, but as I kept reading, I had the strange sense I'd seen it before. On a form, in a manifest, maybe a corner of a corrupted directory. Familiar in a way that doesn't make sense. Thorne had been deployed by a company I'd never heard of, or rather one I'd heard too many times, Pacific Reach Solutions, a name that shows up everywhere and nowhere. The kind of name used when someone wants to be forgotten. The assignment was sparse. No diagnostic data, no background briefing, just a coordinate point, a depth range, and the order: verify signal. Black Ridge Cable wasn't on any commercial chart. It wasn't active. It wasn't even listed in private network inventories. And yet, according to Thorne's notes, Segment 9 had begun returning ping responses at regular intervals, each one delayed by exactly 74 milliseconds. Not degraded, not corrupted, just slightly longer, as if something was adding to the signal. The Ethelgard, a single-occupant, high-pressure submersible, was prepped without crew support. Thorne boarded at 11:02 p.m. Internal system logs confirmed descent began at 11:14. External sensors were nominal for the first 3 hours. No anomalies recorded. Then, at a depth of 9,500 meters, the Ethelgard experienced minor hull resonance, standard at that depth. The next entry in Thorne's logs is timestamped 03:32:12. He writes, "Sonar has locked onto the structure. It's bigger than expected." He described the structure as a concrete mass seated between two volcanic ridges. No visible access panel, no markings. Barnacles formed long, branching lines across the surface. But it wasn't the corrosion that caught his attention. It was the cables. Thick, black, root-like fibers extended from the base of the structure, disappearing into the sediment. Not placed, not arranged, buried. He initiated the docking sequence. Magnetic clamps engaged, but the system responded with strange behavior. The hard seal indicator blinked green, then red, then amber. That color isn't listed in the operator's manual. Thorne logged the anomaly and proceeded with the airlock sequence. Pressure normalized. At exactly 03:33:00, he opened the hatch and stepped inside Node 9. That was the last official transmission from his submersible. The interior did not match the structure's external dimensions. Thorne reported stepping into a corridor, floor lined with stained linoleum, beige walls, fluorescent lights overhead. Everything flickered. There was moisture on every surface. Condensation rolled up the walls instead of down. The air was thick, not stale, but warm, as if the space was breathing. He moved forward cautiously. The hallway extended farther than physically possible. Node 9's blueprint showed a span of no more than 22 meters. Thorne counted over 60 before reaching the end. Along the way, he passed two closed doors, one marked observation, the other archive room. Both doors appeared to be sealed shut. At the end of the hall, a third door stood slightly ajar. Stenciled on its face were the words "Server Core." The letters were hand-painted, uneven. Inside, the room widened. Thorne described the server core as circular. Dozens of server racks lined the walls, each one blinking with patterns of red and green light. A desk sat at the center, bolted directly to the floor. On it, an old CRT monitor glowed faintly. No cables, no inputs, just a blinking cursor. Thorne approached. He noted that the chair was already worn when he sat down. He typed one phrase into the terminal: "Status report." The screen flashed. Thousands of lines of unreadable data scrolled past. Then it stopped. One sentence remained. "The pressure is holding the signal together." That's when everything started to change. The cursor froze. The keyboard stopped responding, and the monitor display shifted to a live feed. It was a top-down angle of the same room. Thorne was visible, sitting at the desk, but he wasn't alone. The figure in the feed was tall. Its proportions were wrong. Arms too long, posture too still. It stood behind the chair, wrapped in what looked like cables or fiber optic strands, slick with moisture, trailing along the floor. Thorne turned. No one there, just the CRT monitor, blinking silently. But the condensation on the walls had shifted. It was forming letters. One sentence, repeated 3 times across the metal panels. Do not acknowledge the cable. Thorne wrote that the words seemed to pulse slightly, like they were being redrawn again and again in place. The server racks changed pitch. Fans inside them began modulating. What began as ambient hum slowly took shape, breathy, broken syllables, layered across frequencies. A word, Elias, whispered from multiple directions. Elias. The sound wasn't playing from a speaker. It was the structure itself speaking, not playback, emergent behavior. The air grew thicker. Thorne described a pressure behind his eyes, like altitude sickness in reverse. The feed on the monitor updated. The figure had moved. It was closer. One arm extended. Its hand now rested on the back of the chair. Thorne felt a drop of water hit his shoulder, then another. He didn't move. He waited, and the screen went black. The next entry in the log skips 27 seconds. No record of what occurred. Just a new time code. 033400. The monitor was off. The server fans had gone silent. Thorne stood up and left the room, but the hallway no longer matched what he'd seen before. The floor was darker, damp. The lights above were dimmer. Doors had appeared where there were none. He passed one labeled personnel, another memory reclamation. The architecture was wrong, shifting, inconsistent, familiar and alien at the same time. Then he saw it, a room ahead with its door cracked open. He stepped in. It was his bedroom, not a copy, his actual childhood bedroom. The model of the lamp, the faded posters, the scratch on the dresser he remembered making at age 9. But it was all rendered in smooth gray concrete, every object sculpted, cold, wet. A boy sat on the bed with his back to the door. Thorne described a sound, not quite a hum, not quite a voice, coming from the boy's direction. The boy turned. His face was Thorne's, but younger. Eyes empty, replaced with thin, glowing threads of light that trailed back into the walls. The boy opened his mouth. Water spilled out. Thorne didn't remember running. He only remembered movement. Doors opening into rooms that shouldn't exist. Corridors folding on themselves. The structure was no longer a node. It was a loop. A self-referencing space, like a system remembering its own layout one floor at a time. Eventually, he found the airlock. The hard seal indicator was dark, manual override only. He reached for the wheel. It wouldn't move. The sound returned. 3 knocks. Not outside this time, inside the wall. Then a slow, dragging sound across the floor behind him. He didn't turn around. He said he couldn't. Not out of fear, but because he knew the thing was no longer behind him. It was with him. The structure exhaled. He wrote that. It exhaled. A long, low breath through vents that weren't there before. Then, with a sudden vibration, the hatch unlocked. The door opened. He dove into the sub, ignored pressure protocols, slammed the emergency ascent switch. The vessel launched upward without calibration. Internal logs spiked. G-force warnings triggered. He lost consciousness at 3,000 meters. When they pulled him out, he was unresponsive, but alive. According to surface time, he had been gone for 73 hours. According to internal vessel logs, 4 hours and 26 minutes. He was classified as a medical anomaly and removed from active duty. His equipment was seized, logs erased. But not everything was wiped. His personal drive, one that never synced to the mission network, contained several files he swore he never created. The most important was a video, timestamped 03:33 a.m., camera 04. It showed the server room, Thorne seated at the desk, motionless. The figure behind him, unmoving, cables trailing across the floor. The video was 5 minutes long. Thorne never moved. The figure never left. The timestamp never changed. The footage looped. And in the audio track, barely audible, was a low hum that spiked every 74 milliseconds. Exactly the latency the mission had been sent to investigate. Thorne went dark for weeks after. No communications, no logs. Then a single email appeared in the backup archive. No sender, just a subject line, "Archive confirmed." The body contained a text file, a transcript of a phone call between Thorne and his mother from when he was 7 years old. He remembered the call, remembered where he had been sitting, what she said, every pause, every mistake. It was all there, verbatim, including things no system could have recorded. At the bottom of the file was one line, written in machine code translated to plain text. File 003, Node 9, upload complete. That was when the anomalies began. Devices activating on their own, screens turning on at 03:33 a.m. with no input. Every time, the same 3 words appeared, just for a second. "We remember you." The signal isn't residual. It isn't fading. It's getting stronger. Node 9 wasn't built to transmit data. It was built to collect memory, compress it, store it under pressure. And now, for reasons unknown, it's sending something back. I disconnected every device in my apartment, not just powered them down, physically removed batteries, pulled circuits, took apart plugs. Still, at 0:33 a.m., my backup laptop turned itself on. No charger, no power source, just a dim blue light from the screen and the quiet whir of an active fan. The display showed a login window, no account name, no password field, just a blinking cursor. I left it untouched. After 40 seconds, the screen flashed once and shut off again. I opened the casing to check for residual charge. There was none. The battery had been dead for months. It didn't scare me, not anymore. It felt more like a heartbeat, regular, familiar. I kicked it, my heel connecting with something that felt like wet meat wrapped in copper. I spun the wheel of the Ethelgard's inner hatch, sealing myself inside the submersible. I didn't wait for the pressure equalization. I hit the emergency ballast blow. The sub rocketed upwards, the sudden ascent slamming me into the floor of the cockpit. As I rose, ascending through the water column, watching the depth gauge spin backwards, I looked at the external camera feed one last time. Node 9 was receding into the dark, but the lights on the station were blinking. Blink, blink, pause, blink. It was Morse code. I know Morse code. It was repeating one word. Copied. I surfaced 4 hours later. The recovery team found me huddled in the cockpit, dehydrated, bleeding from the nose and ears, clutching the flare gun. They told me I had been down there for 3 days. My logs showed 4 hours. I tried contacting one of the other engineers who had worked the Black Ridge grid back in 2014. His number was disconnected. His email bounced. I tracked his name through internal comm logs and found a digital obituary, published anonymously. No images, no cause of death. Just one sentence. Survived by his access. I accessed his archived credentials and found a sealed folder titled N9 Pilot D. It contained 6 images, all labeled Camera 04. Each showed a different person seated at the same desk I had found at Node 9. The environment never changed. Same desk, same screen, same cables, but each face was different, all seated the same way, all unmoving. Some of the faces I recognized, some I didn't. One of them, I swear, was mine, but older. I stopped sleeping, not because I couldn't, because I didn't trust what I'd wake up into. The last time I slept more than 2 hours, I woke up on the floor, monitor on, displaying logs that didn't exist. A terminal window blinking. ... The date listed was January 12th, 2033. I blinked, looked again. The screen was off. The logs were gone, but the timestamp stayed with me. A future memory. A scheduled deletion. I have begun to notice small gaps, things out of order, mismatched timestamps on my own notes, recordings of conversations I don't remember having. When I try to play them back, I hear the ocean, low, slow, crushing, but only in the right ear. The left channel plays static. Sometimes, in the static, I hear breathing, not mine. The reflection anomaly started this week. Mirrors hold my face a fraction longer than they should. I tested it, repeated the same motion 27 times, filming each one. On playback, the mirror version always finishes its movement 0.4 seconds late, every time. I tested different lighting, different cameras, rebuilt the experiment in a sealed room. Same result. Then, on the 28th recording, the mirror version didn't follow at all. It just stared. Not at the camera, at me. Then it blinked. I didn't. That recording is gone, corrupted. But the file name changed by itself. It now reads, "You are not the source." I think the extraction isn't passive. I think it's recursive. It doesn't just pull memory, it rewrites your record of it. Node 9 wasn't a machine, it was a listener, a vessel. It didn't need data, it needed context. That's what pressure does. It holds things in place until they forget they're being held. I received another file last night, transcriptioncleaned.vtt, subtitle format. I opened it. It had timestamps 03:33:00 to 03:36:33 and a script, a dialogue. I was speaking, so was something else. I don't remember saying any of it, but the lines fit. It ended with the phrase, "Your session has been integrated. Remain still." That was when the lights flickered. Just once. Everything returned to normal. But on my internal router logs, a new device had connected for 12 seconds. Name? Nodal Local 9. MAC address? Unknown. Location? This room. I left the motel at 3 a.m. I didn't take anything with me. No devices, no paper, just the clothes I had on and the key still hanging from the door. I drove until the fuel warning lit up, then pulled over somewhere near the edge of the valley. Flat land, no signal. I sat in the car and waited. I don't know for what. I think I wanted silence, but the silence was no longer empty. The quiet now carries a tone I didn't hear before. I've stopped thinking in memories. Now I think in fragments of playback. Images that come with file names, voices that echo in waveform. I can't trust which thoughts are mine. Or rather, I don't think that distinction exists anymore. At 03:33 a.m., my hands moved on their own. They reached into the glove box and pulled out a drive I don't remember placing there. It was unlabeled, cold to the touch. I plugged it into the dashboard. The screen blinked once, just once. No menu, no interface. Then a message appeared, scrolling slowly, as if written one line at a time, live. It read, "You have been successfully migrated. Thank you for your memory. You may rest now." I sat still. I didn't breathe. I watched the message fade. The screen turned off. But in the reflection, I didn't see myself. I saw the desk, the server racks, the chair, the CRT monitor, and someone sitting in my place. Not the figure, just a shape, perfectly still, watching the screen. The last file synced to my drive at 03:36 a.m. It was a text document. Inside, one line. Archive closed. Node 9 is full. No more knockings. No more audio. No more flickering lights. Just stillness. I think this means the process is finished. Or maybe I'm no longer the one receiving the signal. Maybe I've become the relay.